Yo! Welcome to another Unwrapping Sam video. Yesterday, the 19th of April, thousands of people gathered in London's Parliament Square to advocate for transgender rights, following a UK Supreme Court ruling that defines women as those who are born biologically female and men as those who are born biologically male. This ruling excludes trans people from the legal definition of woman or man and pushes even further the idea of gender diversity beyond binary. Non-binary people are the most erased by laws that insist gender equals biological sex. Whilst some protections might cover us, we live in a legal grey zone, often without clear rights or recognition. So this ruling reinforces a binary model that leaves non-binary identities out in the cold. Let's talk about biology for a second. In traditional biology, sex is typically assigned at birth based on physical characteristics: chromosomes, XX female, XY male, reproductive organs, and hormone levels. So when people say biological male or biological female, they're referring to this birth assigned category. But human biology is way more complex than this. For example, some people are intersex, born with variations in sex chromosomes or reproductive anatomy, and also hormones and secondary sex characteristics might change, especially with medical transition. But this is all a simplification. Biology is not binary, it is a spectrum, and it can change in many ways. A trans person is somebody whose gender identity, whose their deep sense of being male, female, neither, or both, is different from the sex they were assigned at birth. So a trans woman is somebody who was assigned male at birth, often with XY chromosomes and male typical anatomy, but identifies and lives as a woman. And a trans man is somebody who was assigned male at birth, but identifies and lives as a man. And a non-binary person is somebody who doesn't fit neatly into these two categories. We're born with biology like everybody else, but our identity doesn't match society's binary expectations. And coming back to the ruling, the case originated from a 2018 Scottish law requiring 50% female representation on public boards, which included transgender women with a gender recognition certificate. But the Supreme Court stated that recognizing such certificates for legal sex would conflict with existing statutory definitions. The court ruled that trans women could not be included in the 50% quota because the law was specifically about biological women, and including trans women would change the intended meaning of the legislation. They argued that including people that were not born female would go against the purpose of the law, which was designed to improve representation for those facing sex-based discrimination, not discrimination based on gender identity. In their view, this law protects women to address historical and ongoing discrimination, things like unequal pay, underrepresentation, violence. So the purpose would not be to protect ovaries, it's to protect people who experience misogyny and sexism, which sounds all great, but if the purpose is about harm and inequality, it makes sense to say that the law should be about womanhood as a social lived experience, not just as a biological category, right? Trans women also face gender-based violence, economic hardship, and healthcare discrimination on top of transphobia. Why do people keep insisting on biological women? They worry that losing the category of biological female could make it hard to track or address issues that are specifically tied to bodies, like pregnancy or female genital mutilation. But nobody is denying the existence of these relevant and pressing matters here. Quite the opposite, actually. Society is enraged because this law limits the definition of woman to someone who can carry a child, isn't too muscular, or isn't too tall. It regresses years and years of progress feminists fought and gave their lives for since the late 1700s. Women are so much more than this law limits them to, and that's exactly what feminism has always fought for. I was thinking about this yesterday during the protest. How ironic is it that they are doing to us now what the system used to do to them in the past? We're having to fight for basic rights because the fight has been aimed at the wrong enemy. The trick is creating laws that protect without erasing and include trans people without ignoring the realities of cis women either, because we're actually all in the same boat. Surprise, surprise. Trans women are women, and the fight is with cis men who are a threat. Not all of them, obviously. The UK Parliament has stated there is no evidence to suggest that transgender women are more likely to commit any crime against other women. However, police receives one call every minute about domestic abuse, and 89% of the cases it involves a woman being abused by a man. Let me now speak to you from my heart. My name is Sam, and I grew up in a beautiful traditional Spanish family. Growing up, I had no idea what LGBTQ+ was at all. What did that even mean? I was homophobic, I was everything phobic, so I judged all the time. Why do people need to be different from the rest? Why are you here to challenge the security of the little world in my head, this system I was taught to be part of? Just learn how to fit into society. Be normal, be normal. We don't want your little revolution challenging the pillars of our well-established society. This was me as a teenager. Honestly, what a brat. I had no idea what life was about. Not that I know now, but at least now I try to learn. I try to understand. I was scared of the unknown, and our natural instinct when that happens is to protect ourselves if we feel threatened by what we don't understand. Nobody likes to feel threatened. It's a difficult feeling. And that's exactly what's happening here. People don't understand, so they feel threatened. So they attack. And the fight goes on and on and on and on, and it's exhausting for everybody. But what if that threat isn't real? I always have hundreds of questions popping into my brain when people keep pushing trans people away, denying basic rights by going for a wee and minding my own bloody business. But the main question I have is, why? Why do you care so much? Why do people think it's okay to care more about other human beings' genitals than their own humanity? Look around you, at animals, at nature. Isn't it beautiful when you go for a hike and admire hundreds of different types of gorgeous flowers, trees, plants, bees, butterflies, spiders? And I don't like spiders. Diversity makes us stronger. It makes the human race beautiful and powerful. Differences open our minds to new ways of understanding and experiencing life. And tell me one single thing that's wrong with that. Trans rights are human rights, basic rights, and trans people have always existed and always will. It is heartbreaking that we still need to fight so hard just to convince people that our existences are real and valid, and that it's pretty inhuman to believe you have the right to deny somebody else's basic rights. So if you've made it this far in the video, all I'm asking is that you think, question yourself, ask questions out loud. Questions are good. Ask them. We're here to give you the answers. At least I can try. And I promise you'll probably be surprised by them, because even though some people keep portraying trans existences as dangerous or unworthy of dignity, we're just a bunch of humans. It's so boring. Really, that's it. End of the mystery. Group of people that wants to leave. And we're here for the same reason as everybody else. We're here to have fun. Thank you for watching. Please reach out if you have any questions about anything. Live and let live. This is my favorite sentence these days. Over and out.